So, good afternoon, everyone. So, may I invite, in the meantime, Elif Hjelset. I hope I pronounced that well. Where is he? Oh, there, sorry. He's professor at the NTNU, Norwegian University of Science and Technology, and he also is an educational educator for buildingSMART Norway. Thank you very much.
Okay, that looks very close to my presentation. Thanks for being invited here. As you see, I'm a professor working on this, so I have maybe some odd view. The topic is reuse of data, reduction in data. And this also is something that I can present this year. If I have been in buildingSMART for a number of years, and I know from a long time ago, you could only said, add one more property set, and then you was among the friends. Wow. So this is actually, if you see in a way, a bit radical thing. And the thinking is about how little information do you need to do one task. That is the main thing. Of course, when you ask about product data, sorry, you are not the right audience for it because you are for it, you know the digitalization. However, when it comes to the industry, I don't see that awareness for it because they are doing their job and say, what is the problem? Or see, maybe it's the European Union that is the problem because normally construction business can do what they do today, can do it tomorrow. So that is something to be aware of. When it comes to new products, we love it, especially if they are technical. However, if you see on these pictures, two types of products, and you see in the middle some type of product information. Actually, you see a lot of product information, and that is just one part of it. So the question, to which product does this product information belong? It shouldn't be needed to have that much information about this concrete slab. However, this is an EPD based on this concrete hollow core slab. And you see it's a lot of information elements, and it's a lot of use cases for it for the life cycle. I do think that what you see is that the information about the product is increasing, both to the sustainability, and I put that first because I do think that is maybe the most important, because to work with digitalization, yes, after a while, it can be a bit boring. Same thing in new property sets. However, if you go into sustainability, you need so much more information from so many more sources. So that is making it really interesting. And then, of course, is this legalization, because you really want to know about your product. About this perspective of thinking, I have used this people, process, and technology. And it's first when I started to include new that something happened. Yes, new technology, yes, I'm using Revit or Solibri, even if better. However, what are your new processes? Normally, it became quiet, and then I ask, what have you quit to do? But also that you need this people needs. It's competency, but also that you want to know more about the product. That makes it important to make the right choice. So we see here, blue pill, red pill. I have the pills. I have more pills if you want to have them, but you can try it on me first. So I have a question at the end, which pill should I take? Agree? Okay, then I continue, not taking the pills now, because then you don't know what's going to happen. But it has to be to make a choice. That is the most important part. Are you going for an integrated solution that is complicated, blurry, and whatever? Or do you want to have the single, solid one with one IFC file, one model, and it's very easy. There is also other elements. Maybe it's a mix. Maybe it's something else that is coming up, and maybe also this green pill. However, the core element here is to think about system integration. It's not about file, more property set, more information. It's how to integrate. I saw the discussion earlier that the European Union hasn't decided how to do it. However, there is multiple ways to do it, but all is about integration. I also heard about data mesh. I don't want to go into that type of discussion now, but I do think it's thinking about integrating multiple sources and to use it. It's not this push, but you pull, you take what you need for information. So that is the thing. And also it's an enabler for design, production, and facility management. It also, to boost the industry, I'm not going to read this text on the presentation, but I do think that 50 to 60% improvement, that should be interesting. Even 5 to 6% should be interesting for most industries also. So I do think it's something. However, this is not quite new. I feel more and more interesting to go back and find some old presentations some years ago and see what's happening. This is from 2007. It's about transformation. So what has happened in the past 5 years and what will go on in the next 5 years? I do think that we have to speed up. It also to do with, looking at the practical side of it to see what you can do and to start early, also to integrate multiple services. So we are not doing it because the legal authority says you can do it, because all this information is critical for production planning and management. So I say it in a way, it's unfair to go for sustainability and digitalization at the same time for those who don't do it. If you see that, you get so much synergy for it. However, in this presentation, it should also be proposing some solution. And here we are in a lucky situation that I do think that thinking federated, integrated solution, we already have a solution that we can increase the use. Get linked to some sources where you can get more information. So simple as that, and then the term is get in. So get in with the get in, and then you see that you can enable a lot of opportunities. You don't have to include which lot of information, because it's about you are pulling the information that you need. That is the way of working. It's also a lot of information, a lot of understanding. However, you can get systems that may make this automated, so you don't have to know that much. You have to only know about your profession. So I'm not reading on this either. It's also possible to validate the information in the BIM model or in the system by use of IDS. And also you saw the presentation of Arthur. He is learning me a lot, even he is my PhD student. So I see that they have a close connection to that. But that means that you can know on each stage, do we have the relevant information available? Don't have to be there, but you know to be available. So that was the short introduction. When it comes to the future, it's good to have you here in Norway. I also welcome you back to Norway. It's a lot of conferences going on here with CoBuilder and also GS1 that is also having some event. And you see that the single requirement is it should just be possible to identify. And no one will say no to that. And then you see the benefit for it. And also that you see that you should think beyond the simple design and some construction phase. I do think that we are maybe like the blind, like the drunk guy looking into the light pole to find his keys and said, why do you look here? Yes, because it's lighter. And why do you work with BIM with just design and some construction? Yes, because we have this IFC file where we had the 3D model that I can turn around with some music or without some music. I do think the value chain is so much wider, and it's also lasting so much longer. And I do think for that we have to rethink in the way we are handling information. And one solution that's coming up to take it into is use of Get In and GSM and BSN and BSI. I do think it's a very, very good combination. So that was the last slide. And thinking about this, about reuse of data, we're talking about sustainability, circularity. We should have the same requirement to data. It should be possible to reuse, and it also should be reduced to a minimum. So I have two pills, blue one, red one. Which one should I take? Who want me to take the blue one? No, they're from Helsinki. No, no one wants me to take the blue one. Okay. The rest of you want me to take the red one. Okay, then I do it. Oh, oh, thank you. It don't taste that bad, so yeah.
Thank you very much. Hope it tastes well.
Yeah.
If you can get it there. Super. Thank you very much. I didn't expect that ending, but it's funny. The what was funny as well is the McKinsey report that you shared there. The 7 different ways of reducing or speeding up the digitalization of the industry was quite interesting. As we've used it for GS1 quite often, and we saw, I think, 3 or 4 different areas where GS1 alone could already provide some intake. Again, 5 to 6% is nice. That's only 10%, but if we improve by 5 to 6%, that's already a great figure. Thank you very much for that. My next presenter is, I should call him OG apparently, because it's a bit difficult to pronounce for me. So Ole Gunnar, thank you very much for being here as well. Ole is a strategic advisor of Norsk Byggtjeneste. I hope I probably completely mess up. Former member of the board of directors at GS1 Norway. And so construction again was on your radar quite early on within the GS1, and maybe you have also been one of the first ones to work on that nice video that we saw. So what is what is buildingSMART in 4 seconds?
Right.
Great, or 4 minutes it was, sorry. I will open your presentation and I will hand you the clicker. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. I'm here to present an initiative in the construction industry related to what we call ByggSTAN. ByggSTAN is a kind of a project inspired by the Norwegian grocery industry, which already have similar concept in place, and I've had it for many years. Business processes documented and presented through a website, so all actors within the value chain can actually look for information, get the knowledge, and use it when they want to enter the market. In the construction industry, ByggSTAN has been initiated by different branch organizations. So 11 different industry organizations went together and started ByggSTAN as a project with the initiative to support interdisciplinary project in the construction industry. So what we try to do here is to answer up the industry's demands on different kind of digitalization initiatives. And one of the cases are one that we run now from January to June this year, and that's the topic I'm going to present. It's called Beast Supply. And if you look at this slide, you can see that we are trying to explain the value chain. We have pilot organizations from the contractor side, the name Skanska. We have wholesaler and retailers from Saint-Gobain Distribution. And we have from the manufacturer side, the Byggma Group. So this represents a kind of a value chain which had different topics they wanted to address and the problems they wanted to test out and see if we could find a solution to was the contractor's requirements on climate data, how to distribute climate data throughout the value chain in a way that supports international standards, and how to make it so easy that it can be easy to implement, quick and cost efficient. Then we wanted to test and adjust the electronic trade messages between the parties that more or less already existed. So we have not created any new business processes. We are reusing the business processes that's already there. And then the end result should be a methodology, not a solution, but a methodology on how to do this and implement it in the industry. First of all, we had to scope the project. So ease of implementation and ease of use was two very important drivers. And of course, the climate side of it was also a very important driver, because that motivated the pilot companies to actually do a lot of investments in this. The complexity in the supply chain is immense. And there is a lot of unstructured data going on from back and forth between the actors, like you see on the slide here, like SMSs, email. You do ordering not only electronically, you do it with your telephone, and so on and so on. So structuring this up and test it out in a fully electronic way was a big topic. And we did not want to invent the wheel once more. So we found a concept in Europe called PEPL, which is based on an international standard, ISO standard, and which had been there for many years, many decades. In Norway, they use this in the public sector for all invoicing. So it's if you're delivering something to the public sector, you need to send your invoice based on this PEPL format. And the PEPL format is arranged in such a way that it's always a sender access point, where the sender sends the message to the access point, where it's validated before it goes to the receiver's access point, and finally to the receiver. So PEPL also have rules in order to validate the messages. And up till now, it is most used for invoicing. But in recent times, we have also got the logistics formats for purchasing and order confirmation and dispatch advices and stuff like that, also implemented in the PEPL structure. So right now, we are able to communicate in all kinds of logistics formats, which is good for all those with logistics processes. And it's already in use, as I said, and we have in Norway more than 19 million invoices going through this structure every month. So most of the invoicing solutions, software, are already compatible to this structure. Then we introduced Beast Supply 4.0. Beast is a name coming from Sweden, actually, where they have initiatives around electronic commerce for several years, driven by the contractors. In Norway, we have mostly focused between retailers, wholesalers, and manufacturers. So together, we aligned the competence, and now are aligning the initiatives in such a way that we do it in the Nordics. So if you look at it from bottom up, it's more like based on a ISO standard, and then PEPL is an application of UBL, and then on top of that we have documentation on how to implement it in the industry. It also supports product data templates, because templates are defined in the messages in such a way that you can distribute data on that format as well. Climate data in e-messages, according to digital rules, if you like. We have heard a lot of digital standards or ISO standards earlier today, and this project also have been very focused on implementing whatever we could implement of these standards. And the result has also been like an environmental PDT based on the 22057 standard. But in addition to that, we also have other data elements that was a requirements from the contractor, where we did not find any standards to support it. So reusing standards, but also being focused on standards are not for everything, because there's a lot of stuff that's not standardized in such a way. We can give an example on that, for example, of environmental certification on on wood and timber. Yeah, that was typical example where we had to look in other solutions than the standards. So the results are published on bygstand.no. The group which have been involved, and the result consists of a project report and detailed implementation knowledge in form of syntaxes and how you're going to implement it and how you're going to do that stuff. And the rest of the result is that it's already under implementation. So this is a Norwegian steel manufacturer in the middle of Norway, Norway, EA Smith Store, which have already published their first invoices with climate data. So climate data through invoicing. Invoicing is very quick and very easy to implement, and everyone needs to deal with it, because otherwise you won't get paid. Data attributes are defined based on the definition in 22057, and implementation have already started, and the first mover in Norway was this steel manufacturer. So we hope that this will continue with the implementation. So that was all I had. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ola, for this presentation. If we go on like this, we might even have a bit of time afterwards for Q&A. So the speakers, I invite the speakers not to leave too early. May I invite Anna Merkler from Schindler. She is a business process expert at Schindler Management Limited. Not only is she a specialist in vertical movement, but she's also some expertise in sailing, and that's the horizontal, especially in Netherlands. You cannot be more horizontal than the Netherlands. I know it. I'm not far from there. So welcome to the stage, Anna.
So, yeah, thank you for the opportunity to also introduce the elevators at this part. And to be honest, I think the most of you have seen the slides yesterday in the presentation. And yeah, let's say digitalization is dynamic, and so I also try to keep this dynamic, and I think I will skip my next slide and skip my next slides and stick more to this. And of course, also for me, it's a lot of learning, and also I'm not a sustainability expert. I'm coming from the engineering, I'm coming from the processes, and for me, the last couple of hours were quite interesting to see what their expectations are, and maybe I will just provide a short insight from a manufacturer perspective, what's already there, and maybe also what are my questions and how we can then, let's say, develop this further together and achieve the next steps. So you see here our life cycles or the process steps during the lifetime of an elevator, during design, installation, operation and maintenance, and later on modernization. And what I got from the last presentations, the most time we're talking about like the product data, like when we have manufactured after like the design. But for the elevator, for example, the main emissions occurrence during the service and during the life cycle in the operation. So I think there it's really important for us that also it's not a static template or a static product template when we talk about that. It's really like during the whole life cycle of a product. And then also, I think the main data which is required, we already have in our systems. And so for me, the question is, who needs the data and how we transfer the data? And of course, we have EPDs or for pre-configured elevators in place for different product lines, also for our service. But it's, as I said, or it's an assumption for a predefined product. So we are working also currently that when you order then an elevator, that you get our this EPD data for your real project-specific elevator, which is not like a product you place somewhere. It's really like always a dynamic process or for the configuration of an elevator. So it will never be, or no elevator is like the other, let's say it in this way. And for example, with GS1, what we are already doing, I think it's in 2016, it was required by an elevator regulation that all safety components are traceable. So all safety components have a GS1 code on it, and you can see different data, or during scanning this code, it's linked with an app, and I think there, for example, would be a nice interface where we can check if this data is also somebody else is interested or needed, and it's already linked with GS1. And yeah, also during the service and the operational, we have a lot of interfaces. We have technologies with Colab, which working via API, how you can get in touch with the elevator, get service data, or of course in the direction of maintenance. And I think I mentioned it also yesterday in the direction of modernization. And we have also concepts in place, or how sustainability can develop there in a right early stage of a life cycle of an elevator, to make sure that during the whole life cycle of a building, the elevator provides the best sustainable solution. So for me, from manufacturer perspective, I think we have a lot of data in place. We have GS1 codes already linked with our data. We have an app in use, or how we can then make the data also visible for our service techniques. And I think that's some good parts where we can start going further. And to the parts which were shown in the further presentations, why not using IFC or also the IDS more to require this data from the manufacturer perspective? And just as I said, or I will skip the slides, but just as I showed yesterday, or we have already worked on this and on the VDI in Germany, that also requirements can be placed in the IFC. I mean, that will now be replaced by the IDS. But I think that would be also a good way how we can see which data is required, what we do have to deliver, and also who is getting this data. And then I think for us, as I said, or we can link it then to our configuration, to our real data, also to this project-specific elevator, and transfer it also via an IFC file. So I think there would be also the possibility already available, and then also I think the main people who are currently asking for this data are on architectural and planner side, asking for this data for building certifications, for LEED, for example. And I mean, we already communicate via IFC with the stakeholders. So I think for me, it would be a good solution to add there some property sets in this direction, and so deliver a full, or a more complete, or to different use cases, IFC file. And so it always leads for me to these questions, or it's now for the planning stage, but also for this topic of sustainability, or who I have to deliver the data, how do I do it, what's needed, and especially when. And then I think from manufacturer perspective, we have already a lot of things in place we can provide to you. So I think, as I said, or it was a little bit more spontaneous, really quick, but thank you, Jens, and I hope we can develop this further.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your help. Thank you very much. It's not quite the same story as yesterday. I'm happy to have seen this. It was more to the point for this audience. So thank you very much for that. Now, let me get out of this here. And last but not least, we have Hans-Uli Schmidt, Technical Project Manager at Lignum, Association of Swiss Forest and Timber Economy. So we stay in Switzerland. After Schindler, we stay in Switzerland with you. And a member of the Product Domain Steering Committee at buildingSMART International. And yeah, let's hear it from you. Looking forward to your slides.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you for the invitation. I had already the opportunity in former summits to present a bit our work in the product room about sustainability, how we transform this important topic into the machine-readable language. My presentation today has a bit a different approach, have more images, not so many diagrams. As you can see also, I'm new also represented in the Sustainability Strategic Group. Tomorrow we will explain a bit more with Nick Nisbet in which direction we go, what our goals are, how we can support industry with sustainability topics. And as I said, I'm also in the buildingSMART product domain. So have a look to Norway. We see construction has been sustainable. They were fit for 52. They were actually fit for lower CO2 emissions. So the topic is fit for 52 means reducing the emissions to 55% from today. And all the countries in Europe can then decide by themselves how they're going to reduce the environmental impact. Construction is a very important part of this. We often talk about aviation, which is between 3.5% and 4%, but cement alone in a global scale makes 8% of the CO2 emissions, comparable to the emissions of whole India. And steel, again, another 8%. So we cannot ignore the construction. It is also a responsibility to provide solutions, to make buildings more efficient, and BIM can help us there. That leads us to the life cycle analysis of building. Also, only with the whole life cycle analysis of a building, we can effectively reduce the impact of construction. That means we have production, operation, and disposal of the building. And when we can still optimize this whole life cycle, we have a lot of potential, which are not taken because it's maybe too complicated and nobody is paying me if I gonna optimize a building in this direction. So we want to bring this quality into value for your clients and for the society. We want also minimize the impact for the environment, optimize the performance and save value for the client, and securing resources for the next generation. That's also a very basic, fundamental question for us as a society. So politics picked up this topic. They have many ideas. We see it here. EU Green Deal, many initiatives, how we could optimize this topic. Very complex, very good intended approaches, but not all good intentions lead to the good solutions. So architects might be a bit worried about this. Is it a nightmare, LCA? Maybe yes, but maybe buildingSMART can lead to a solution. In Northern methodology, we have the tree as the basic fundament of Earth who hold everything together. And when I was looking to this tree, many things are connected to each other, And you could maybe apply this to environmental or LCA and environmental impact analysis. You have many branches in the construction industry. I'm from the wood part, but there are other steel, cement, and others. And everybody should now deliver an EPD in a format which could be then transferred in the BIM and transformed via algorithms into an analysis which really gives reliable and reproducible results. Another topic of this methodology in Northern Hemisphere is also that on the base of these three are three women. They spinning the course of human destiny. So how we could translate this to our topic? Maybe the trinity of sustainability, economical, social, and ecological aspects. So what we talk about when it's about EPD, it's only the ecological aspect. That's the aspect you really can measure. Well, economical, that is the price. That is obviously also a topic today. So now we need a superhero to solve this problem. And actually, that's BSDD. The BSDD solves this problem for everybody in once. And to be precise, we, the wood industry, initiated this development. In parallel, the ISO standard 2257 was developed. And parallelly, we developed that and we brought it together. And last year, we transferred it to the BSDD, thanks to the work of CoBuild and also Frederick Grant. On the other side, the ISO standardization, and we have now solved actually this problem by making EPD machine readable. So I have now this domain online in the BSDD. It's described like this. We have there the life cycle stage defined, and we have also the environmental indicators defined. The problem is a bit with BSDD, you cannot have the overview. Therefore, we will provide you an industry report where we give the overview of all those information that you can see how this information is connected. So up to that, all the industry branches can further develop their product data sheet, their product passport. So Wood has now developed their product data dictionary, and when we want to bring it as a branch into the BSDD, so that we all together have a common machine-readable language for products in wood based on harmonized standards. And we would like to see other branches to also gather together and develop their common data dictionary. As I said, everything based on standard, which was already widely discussed, but it is available only in many different languages and the machine cannot read it properly. So at the end, we will have data templates with this EPD, which is available or usable for all the products, which could be transferred then if by inserting the value into digital data sheets, and then also be available in an open structure from the manufacturer to the planner, and the planner which is able to produce his IDS in the same language. This will allow finally to optimize buildings over the whole life cycle, which benefits for the environment, for the investor, and for the society. I hope we will reach this goal, and thank you for your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hans-Uli. I'm on the other side, sorry, wandering around. We'll start in the next, we'll have 10 minutes. If there are any questions, I'm happy to have them answered. I know that Ole already had to go, but either Hans-Uli, Anna, or Elif are there to answer them. And after that, I would like to take about 5 minutes for the Kahoot. I think it works. Is there any question? We have 5 minutes for a question and hopefully some answers for you. Yes, there is a question there.
I'm not really sure who this question is for, but we talked a lot about Getin and GS1, and now also some providers of wood. And I was just wondering, because let's say wood is a simple material, and it is possible for bad actors in the market to copy something like that. And is there a way for GS1 to validate or authenticate the code or the materials?
Thank you. Well, we have a use case of Swedish wood, so maybe David can help in this question.
The question has not come up in our discussions in Sweden, but what we have developed on a global scale within GS1 is something called, correct me if I'm wrong now, GS1 Global Registry Platform, or is it Global Registry Platform? Something like that, GRP, which means that if a supplier puts a GTIN and a barcode on something, you can actually check the barcode against a global registry to say that if it's, for example, the Swedish Moelven supplier of timber, you can check that the QR code, the piece of wood, actually comes from that company. So that's one way of making sure that the goods that is received comes from supposed to come from Moelven. It actually comes from Moelven as well. That's one way of doing it. But I think it's also a matter of authentication of. I think, do we have any from the other one from this one who can talk about that? Because we have, yes, sure, thank you, Sean.
Thanks, Ildiko. Sean Dennison, GS1 Ireland. I think the ultimate solution to what you're asking for is traceability. And we have implemented that in a number of sectors, in tobacco in particular, where there's a method of putting a serialized GTIN on a packet of cigarettes at a production line and tracing that all the way through the process so that the regulator at the other end, or the shopkeeper, can validate that that product came from that production line and that factory at a particular date and time. And that serialization is then cancelled so that it can't be reused. So that's kind of the ultimate traceability. But there are simpler ways in the food industry, for instance, where the difference, I suppose, in GS1 traceability compared to others is that traceability is normally one up and one down. So we know who we got it from and we know who we gave it to. But with the EPC IS standard, you can trace it all the way from the start of the supply chain, which could be raw materials or a mine or a production facility, all the way through to the end user, to the consumer, and into reuse and recycling. So there are standards there, but I think in construction, we're probably not using them that much yet. Yeah.
If there's no questions, great, then we can go to the Kahoot, maybe? Let's do that. Yeah? Okay, shall we? So I will, we'll move to the first question. Again, this is to get a bit an idea of who is out there and who will join the breakout rooms afterwards so that we can have some good split of companies and inputs. So which part of the construction value chain do you represent? Red, or the triangle, is design and planning. The square, or the, what is it? The let's say blue is manufacturer. I hope we don't have too many colorblind people on the call. Construction company, the circle is yellow, and green is use phase and deconstruction. Okay, so we see a clear presence of designers and manufacturers in the room. Great. Super. That was the first question. Second question, what motivated your company to participate in this workshop? Red triangle is learn about regulatory background. Blue is learn about use cases from other companies. Yellow circle is discuss the digitalization challenge with other stakeholders. And green is learn about standards and interoperability. Super. So discuss digitalization challenge. Great, great outcome. Super, that's good. Last question. Do you know about the system of GS1 standards? Well, now I would have hoped more responses, positive responses than at the beginning of the workshop. Triangle red, yes, and I use it. Blue, yes, but I don't use it. Yellow, no, but investigating. And green, no, or not applicable. Yes, but I don't use it. Good. Well, I think we should take the same poll at the next workshop, and then we'll see. I think quite interesting. Thank you very much. Thank you for your input. We will have the panel discussion now starting. Topic will be on sustainability. I invite the members to join me on stage. So we have Lars Frydenlund from CoBuilder. We have Knut Jossang from Pipelife. We have Pedro Meda from the University of Porto. And we have Hans Suili from Seibois, Lignum, Timbim, also here. Good. So this is the interactive part. I will start off with the first question to them. If you have some questions, please raise your hand. This is the moment to ask, to share, and to learn. Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for you being here and accepting my invitation to this round. First question, the obvious question is, in, let's say, 2 sentences, what is sustainability for you? Shall we start with the south of Europe?
Okay. I would stick to the slide that I present on the sustainable built environment. There are 4 dimensions. I would place 2 of them: environment and waste.
Environment and
waste.
Good. Okay. Thank you. Who wants to? Yeah, we go to the north, completely opposite side of Europe again.
Yeah,
good.
I think I would connect it to where the industry is today. Do we know what we are building? Can we control what we build? So I would say that we have to have a knowledge of actually what we built. So going down to to track the value chain, what we actually run and operate. So that is one. And for me also the higher level, the carbon footprint. That is maybe the climate part, and the carbon footprint is maybe the number 2, because those 2 are connected.
Okay. Shall we go to the other side of, more to the central side, Hans Suili?
Yeah, for me, maybe renewable and durable. Renewable to try to replace as much as non-renewables with renewables resources, and durable also in the meaning that we try to find architecture solution to make buildings durable, or at the end of the life to reuse materials.
Good. Knut, any thoughts?
Yeah, I would say from a manufacturer perspective, of course, EPDs are in front of our head right now, and also the combination EPD, GITIN, product information in general to keep track of the environmental data, because it's a lot of data. And
If I may add one comment, I think that there is a gap. So when we are in the construction industry, when we try to design something and we build something, there's a gap there. And I think that gap needs to be closed. And this has been a lot of the conversation that we have today. And this gap is linked to a lot of questions, also sustainability.
Mm-hmm. Good. For those of you who are still there tomorrow, there's a sustainability, what's it called? Sustainability Strategic Group that has a sort of workshop tomorrow morning at 9:30. So something that might be taken into there as well. So do you have a view on how buildingSMART could play a role in this? We talked a lot about GS1. I think we made that clear. How would you see buildingSMART International having a role to play in this area? Maybe Hans-Uli, can I?
Yeah, I think we cannot cover the whole spectrum of sustainability. As we saw before, it contains also a social aspect. Those are not really measurable and machine readable, therefore, and not accessible for algorithms. So far, I would say we are now in the time of artificial intelligence and blockchain and so on. But as we showed, we should try to transfer the existing standards in this machine-readable language, make it widely available for planners and suppliers, that a requirement and performance meet each other, and that there is really a better communication between that.
Okay. Any
Yeah,
thoughts?
I've been attending this for 10, 15 years. I don't know how many years, but many years. And I've been repeating what I've been trying to say for that many years. So it's to the change within the industry. And I think for buildingSMART, I think that's, if you guys can come here and say, I went to this buildingSMART event and I actually learned something. And I think that kind of bringing together the BIM community together to discuss topics, several topics. But I think that's a very important role that buildingSMART holds. So the alternative is not having buildingSMART. So where should you go then? And I think to strengthen that communication and actually to take up sessions like we do today, which has had today quite an audience. It's not normal, guys, that there are so many people in the audience, to be honest. So, but that one is very important, as I see. Collaboration, communication, and knowledge sharing.
Good. Anything from?
Yeah, I could add that, for instance, in buildingSMART Norway, I'm manager of the product domain there, and we have spent hours on discussing and sharing knowledge about the standards we have briefly presented here today. And I think in general, people need knowledge to take the steps forward on this path, because it's tricky. And to have a place like buildingSMART to come together and share knowledge, that's very valuable.
Super.
So I will add that in your first question, I just select 2 dimensions. There are other 2. Performance, let's leave it, almost all people knows that, but the digital has been assumed by buildingSMART. So it has been the discussion forum where the digital technology has been discussed, implemented, tested, and now that we can have the part for sustainability being discussed here, I think we are achieving the twin transition, the discussions on twin transition. So actually it is a discussion forum, the most relevant one, and also the space where we can implement, test in a safety environment and try to develop and move forward.
Mm-hmm. We started today with a presentation from Oscar Nieto on the Green Deal and the Fit for 55 package of regulations and various European and regional and national initiatives. Do you see already today some activities in improving the area of sustainability within Europe, initiatives and actions that are being taken to reduce that? In the construction sector, I mean.
Mm-hmm. Well, in my vision, well, I came and present in the morning how we are anticipating that. So we are trialing things. We read the documentation, the extensive documentation. We try to fill in, interpret, and do assumptions on the gaps that exist, because they are not perfect documents, and I'm not questioning the regulations, but actually sometimes we are asked to question those regulations. So we try to identify where are the gaps, define assumptions, and try to go to real practice, to field, and test it. And try to implement, try to train people on sustainability. And from my experience, I'd say two aspects. One, at practice level, I see people taking more and more consideration on aspects such as energy efficiency, because it has been there for a long while, for a long time. People get education on that, so they are becoming more proficient on achieving improved energy efficiency certificates, for example, in buildings. On the waste dimension, I see now higher concern on reuse and recycling, and on the development of the waste plans for construction. And then when people understand the value of the products that are there, namely when we are talking about steel, concrete, so things that people that are on site, and we need to translate it very quickly to cost, because it's the language that they understand. All understand, civil engineers and architects, we all understand cost. Even people that don't work in the industry understand cost when they go to the supermarket and they see the bill. So cost is the language that can accelerate the understanding of people. And when we go and we are successful on that, we see that people understand and follow. So I see this at ground level, so at practice level, and at the European Commission, so at strategic level, I see the motivation and the strength or the intention to do what was done in the 90s with safety and health on construction sites. So that was a movement, that was a wave to improve safety and health in construction sites. And actually, it worked to some extent, and it was widespread. I see now the same motivation with sustainability. So these are the two dimensions that I would like to highlight.
Good. Before I give you just one comment, Oscar Nieto, we invited him to be here, but he said, no, we need to give the right example. We're trying to reduce carbon footprint, so we're not flying, we're just connecting online. He would have liked to be here, to be part of this round, but again, leading by example is one of the things that works as well.
Just on sustainability, I just want to tell a story in the Nordics, and of course in Norway, where we are here. In 2008, we saw that the EDI order files needed identifiers when the product came to the construction site. So as the construction industry needed to standardize and understand what actually products are coming to the construction site, we saw that there was a demanding need of one product identifier that identifies what is this pipe. So if everyone is using the different identifiers, what is the product? That identifier, what we've done with that is to reduce the hazardous chemicals in chemicals. So because in Norway, we've done a lot on taking a PDF file and making that into digital data, linked to the GTIN, setting requirements, removing hazardous substances from products and products from the market. So that's one. Number two, in Sweden and in Norway and in Denmark, we are working on use cases for exchanging information between manufacturing companies and other platforms like LCA platforms or whatever. And there has been successful work utilizing the standards that we talked about. The EPD standards is one. And I think those things shows that there is a willingness in the industry to reduce the footprint by the usage of this framework that we just have talked about today.
Great. Ansuri, you?
Yeah, we in the wood industry see a good dynamic in public procurement, that communities or the government, which builds a lot, they realize they have to now the responsibility to go ahead as a leader and the sample, and that drives also a bit innovation and raises capacity also then for private builders. And many communities are also owner of raw materials like wood or other things, and they from the beginning defined a project. We want to build with our wood, our resource from the region, and it's absolutely WTO conform, and it gives very interesting solutions. Yeah.
Good. Good.
Just a comment when we talked about price, and I think, for instance, from a pipe life perspective, we could now deliver pipes based on bio-based materials and also recirculated materials. The characteristics, the performance is the same, but it's not cheaper. So I think people must realize that it's not like if it's not a brand new virgin product, then it should be cheaper, because you need to pay for the sustainability. So I would say that if you don't have a product which the technical performance is the same, and you have EPD data with low value, then you need to pay for that.
Okay. I would like to leave the floor also for some questions in the audience. I'm sure that you have some ideas, some things on your mind. Anybody has a question on? Yes, Sean. Where was the mic? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we published a white paper in buildingSMART, or a number of white papers last year on a number of topics. And one of them was FM. And given that a lot of what affects sustainability is what happens downstream. So if you build a great building with the right materials, but then if it's misused, for want of a better word, during the operations phase, how do you fix that? And is there a way of fixing it? Is there a way of tracking how the building is used? So I think there's a need for a standard for FM standards and building operation standards.
You mean facility management, right?
Sorry, facility management.
Okay,
yeah.
Good. A lot of acronyms, so I'm trying to translate.
So
Lars?
I can try to explain. So in the Loin standard, that is, I just mentioned it at the end there. This Loin standard separates the 3D from the alphanumeric information. So let's use the perfect use case for Nordan. So the requirements set on the fire and kind of the technical characteristics, that's what you have to follow, because that's in the building regulations. So they have to deliver according to the requirements for this specific building. So that's a data set stored in the database, and that's the Loin standard that allows you to do that. And then the digital product passport, that's actually where he will deliver the window, actually again shown what Nordan did. So he's delivering a U value in this case, maybe fire, whatever. But then there is some additional information which doesn't come from any standard. And it is who installed it, when was it installed, when is the starting point for this, let's say there's a 5-year guarantee time. So when's the start date and end date? So that's a data set. And that has to be provided from the construction site. It doesn't come from the manufacturer because he has no clue. And that's, again, it's ISO 19650, but the Loin standard defines this. So then there is a data set for this is what is required that can be reused because you could build yet another building. And then you have a data set for what is actually delivered. And then you can compare the two. But those are two different data sets. One from the DPP point of view, with extensions maybe, and the other one from the specification Loin.
Is that what I explained between the static data on the product and the dynamic data? What I always use, and sometimes it makes more sense, is to say, well, you've got the passport, but then you've got the health chart. And the passport is your biometric information, it's your name, mostly things that do not change, although you can discuss about that, but the basic information doesn't change. But then a lot of things happen. So you could use that also for predictive maintenance, making sure that, okay, and imagine you could provide all of that information, the data, event-based data, and you could provide that back to the manufacturer, what valuable information that is. And this is, I think, personally, something where we might go in the future as well.
Just to comment back before we go there, there is some GS1 standards that could be used, but that gap is between this audience and you. That knowledge is something that needs to be closed.
Is it the same on the same?
Yes.
Okay.
Just to add on that, because I agree. We in the growing circle that I just presented quite fast, but you will have the presentation. You can go to the website and see the case studies. What we tried to prove, because this was a circular economy project, was that by enabling circular data, we would achieve circular economy, and we hit something that needs to be further discussed, because in the beginning when we have the product, so the rock wool, for example, it has some characteristics, and then it will be installed, and that is not part of the DPP. It will be digital building logbook, for example. But then at the end of life, before dismantling or disassembling the building, we will need to perform a waste audit. There are guidelines for the European Commission on waste audit. Of course, that if we have a DPP, more than 80% of the data should be already on the digital product passport. However, there are some properties that might decrease, or their loss in pipes, plastic pipes, it might happen. So maybe there should be a second version of the digital product passport when the product has 50 years. But I don't want to get too messy on the discussion, but just to raise this aspect.
Valid point.
And also when talking about EPDs, you see how much information that is. And I think it's maybe not fair as a manufacturer to be responsible for the whole life cycle. I would say that when the product leaves our gate at the factory, or at least when it enters the construction site, after that, it's a best guess from a manufacturer perspective. So with that kind of thinking, I would say that a lot of the EPD information is not static information and could be added by different stakeholders throughout the value chain.
Absolutely. Good. You wanted to add something to that?
Yeah, maybe also the EU taxonomy, which is going also in the definition of financial products. At the end, we have to ask ourselves how we can monetize this information, and if we have a higher quality of a building, what that means actually on the financial market. I would name green bonds, for example, or if we have a building designed for disassembly, it keeps the value of the raw material at the end. It's actually protected from devaluation, like on the bank. It's better to have the money in a building, and you know at the end it will still have value. So maybe be creative and try to find the opportunities out of this data.
I think you're from Switzerland, right?
Yeah.
Just a comment here. What's important from the manufacturing point of view, the product, when you put on the market, it's his responsibility. But in the product category rules that defines the products, what the Commission wants to do is to put a number on the transportation, so that when you calculate transportation from where it's manufactured to where it's used, that number on calculating is set within the product category rules. This is the framework. So that means that when you calculate and you compare product A, product B, that you actually can do a fair comparison on the footprint when you transport a product.
Now you may, Roland, I see you.
Thank you. I have a reflection and a question at the same time. We see about the question of sustainability. Excuse me, last I'm French. My properties. That we need to have correct data and in a reverse way. I mean, you just said that for pipe life, okay, when the product is delivered, it's not my concern anymore. But at the end of the usage of the products, you need to have information coming from the users itself. So the regulation actually set a responsibility for the producer to provide data. If we want to reuse it, reuse the product, we will need data from the users. Where is the obligation? You see, it's so difficult to involve the rest of the chain of bringing back information. So how do you think you can solve this? Do you think that maybe, I don't know, a well-documented product will have a cost-effective interest, or do you think that European Commission have to think about regulation? It's quite interesting to know, because if you don't deliver the data, you cannot sell, but you need the data from the users. How can you get it?
Okay, I started. Good question. The European Commission is already working on that. So the digital building logbook is the information container that should collect, manage, and store all building relevant data throughout the construction life cycle. Of course, that we are not there yet, but DPP is the start, and I told that in my presentation. And I think that we should also look to what we have now and what can be different. On the other day, we were discussing about the value of products in the second life, etc., and how manufacturers, if they had extended responsibility on the products and should have the products at the end of the life cycle of buildings, etc., how it would work. Well, eventually for pipes, it should be a bit more difficult to perceive the value, not an issue with that, but the other example is rather good. Yeah. For example, IBM, when the personal computers 1 and 2 started, they had a lot of gold on those processors. So if they just got it back, they would do huge money on that. So these are the kind of reflections that we need to do on the value of the products at the end of life. That is one. And what is the data that we have on those? And nowadays is rather difficult to have any portion of information. And the aim is to improve that. So I think that it will take time. It will take a lot of effort. But I think that the road that is being taken on digital product passports can be scaled to the building level, and therefore capturing the data that during the use phase and the one that Sean was mentioning, for example.
Just to add on, construction product regulation does not help you in this direction, because that's a regulation to get products to market with the CE mark. But the Eco-Design Directive for Sustainable Products, they are talking about it. But again, where to start? Should you start with the whole complexity, or should you start with the starting point? And I think that the discussions I've been listening to is that we have to start somewhere, and that is with the DPP. And when you want to go towards a more circular way of thinking, you have a starting point. That's number one. Number two, I believe that from the starting point of the manufacturing having a digital product passport, for software vendors, this is a dream scenario. Knut showed, and I think that Nordan would also agree, that there is a lot of different databases out there which you have to fill data in every week. Now, the commission comes and said, we also want some data. So this is not new to the manufacturers. It's like, whoa, there's a database. But it's kind of a regulatory thing. And I think that the question can be answered better by the software providers that will say, hey, I can build this, I can build that, because there is a need in the market. And we have a lot of standards supporting that question. ISO 19650 is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Good. Any other questions? Don't be shy. Good.
Hello, my name is Mikkel from Moljo in Denmark, and we struggle a lot with EPD data today. EPD data comes from many places, both from, of course, already embedded in the tools, from verifiers, from EcoPortal, from scraping PDFs. I really hope that you all sort of expect it to be a part of the new DPP. Is that also your expectations?
Maybe can answer this. Yeah, as I presented, we have the domain of EPD data or LCA data, but this is not really a finished template to transfer EPDs in the digital language. Therefore, I discussed this with Arthur Tomczak to complete maybe the data needed to really transfer an EPD in the digital language in a common language.
I think on my end, Mikkel, is that there's a clear answer to this. To deliver a window or pipe in the market, you have to declare environmental as essential characteristics for the product. So it's all up to the manufacturers to deliver it. There's one standard called ISO 22057, which we are referring to, which is let's say the format. It provides the identification for machines on what is this data all about. And that's the use cases in Sweden and Norway utilizing that standard. So, but it's very important to understand that environmental information will come from manufacturers, and very often their systems, SAP systems or PIM systems, or in their ecosystem. That's where the data will come from. But then, of course, in BIM, we can do a lot of estimations with generic values, generic objects, where we can utilize. And of course, for the future, there will be BIM tools where we can collect this information via APIs using those standards. So again, software developers will make this work. We only need to follow the standards.
Mm-hmm. Great. I think we are on the hour, or on the hour, I mean, we are within the time limit of the half hour that we put ourselves. Thank you for your questions. We will break now for a coffee break. After the break, we will break up in 2 different groups. And let me just show you what we had in mind. So we will have 2 breakout rooms with 2 separate topics. My suggestion is that we split here. So Rachel, you're in that group. Anna, you're in that group. You're in that group. And as of there, you're in that group. I have not decided which one will be the breakout room 1 or 2. So not that you're going to, we need a good mix of participants in there because we need all stakeholders. And what I would like there is to see that we have majority of manufacturers and architects and designers. So it's basically the generic design and the physical object. So that's perfect. I want to keep that split. We will have 1 breakout room that will sit there. We do not have 2 separate rooms. So it's basically, as we saw in your thing, the wall between the classifications. So we will have 1 group there, the other group there in the back. Yeah. So please come back and I will tell you which side is which. Of course, you can bring coffee, but bring coffee, bring your mind, your body, everything, even take a few cakes. We have some flip charts for both sides. So it's really what we want to come up with, and I can share that as well. Afterwards, we want to come up, each group needs to come up with 3 basic major points that either need to be addressed, that are important, or that have been done. It's up to you. But I think we need to have some clear actions come out of this discussions for future discussions and broader discussions, either here or outside of the buildingSMART environment. Okay? Thank you very much. Thank you to the panel, indeed. I'm sorry.